My wife cheated with my boss. But one family dinner and her carelessness exposed everything on our TV in front of everyone. My name is Ethan. I'm 35 years old. My wife's name is Lauren. She's 33 years old, who accidentally turned on her hidden relationship with my boss on the TV in the living room while we were having dinner at my parents' house. I always thought cheating was something that happened to other people. Dudes who ignored their wives, couples who were already basically roommates, people who married for the wrong reasons. Not the guy who packed his wife's lunch, laughed at her dumb TikToks, and bragged about her to his coworkers, including the one she was secretly in a hidden relationship with. It all blew up in the most humiliating way possible. One wrong tap on her phone, our TV suddenly syncing to her screen, and a flood of messages popping up between her and my boss. Can we meet again one-on-one? Right in front of my mom, my dad, and the lasagna ID spent 3 hours making. That was the moment my perfect marriage died and my HR department became my new therapist. The first weird thing was the perfume. Lauren has always been a one perfume kind of woman. Light, floral, the same stuff since college. Then back in March, she came home smelling different. Stronger. Expensive. Like something you spritz on for a special occasion, not to go stare at spreadsheets at a nonprofit. I noticed, obviously. I said something like, "New perfume? Fancy." She gave me this tight little smile and said, "Oh, the women at work got samples. You like it?" I said, "Yeah, sure, it was nice." And that was it. Tiny thing. You let it slide. Then came the late nights. She works a pretty normal 9 to 5 at a local charity. For years, she'd be home by 5:30, 6 at the latest. Suddenly, we're doing grant season, board reporting, donor events, team happy hour every other week. Couple of those nights, I even offered to pick her up. She always had a reason that didn't work. "Oh, we're at a different bar now. I don't want to make you drive across town. I'm catching a ride with Stacy. We're headed the same way. You'll just be bored, babe. It's all work talk." At the same time, she started asking way more questions about my boss. For context, I work in sales at a mid-sized software company. Corporate enough that there's HR and compliance modules, not corporate enough that anyone enjoys any of it. Eve been there 6 years. Greg's been my direct manager for the last 3. He's one of those guys who's always on. Handshake too firm, smile a little too practiced, hair a little too perfect for someone supposedly working 60 hours a week. He's married, 2 kids, pictures of his family all over his office. PDA dad energy. Lauren had met him at a few company events. Before all this, he was just your boss with the weird laugh. But around the time the perfume and late nights ramped up, she started asking stuff like, "So what does Greg think of you? Do you think he sees you as leadership material? You should really network more with him. Invite him and his wife over sometime. You know, Greg is really charming. I bet he's a killer salesman." At first I thought she was just being supportive about my career. Pushy, but supportive. I grew up pretty working class. She grew up more middle class suburban. We know someone who knows someone world. So I figured this was just how her brain worked. Then she started dressing different for work events. Very form-fitting dresses, heels she hates, full makeup. One night, she was doing her hair in the bathroom, and I joked, "You're gonna make all the elderly donors at this gala be very impressed with you." She shot back without missing a beat. "Well, something's gotta cover up your networking skills." It was half a joke, half a dig, and for the first time in our marriage I got this little ping in my gut like something's off. I wish I could say that's when I started paying attention. I didn't. I just swallowed it and told myself I was being insecure. And then came the iPad. We have this old shared iPad on the coffee table that we mostly use for recipes and Netflix when one of us steals the TV. It's still logged into her iMessage, because I'm a dinosaur with tech. One night, she says she's going to bed early, migraine. I stay up watching SportsCenter, half asleep on the couch. About 20 minutes after she goes upstairs, the iPad buzzes next to me. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even thinking. My hand just moved. What popped up on the screen was a text preview. "Greg, wish we had more time to talk earlier today. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you all day." I stared at it. Everything in me just froze. You know that feeling when you almost get in a car wreck? That split second where your body knows something is about to hurt before your brain catches up? That was me, holding this stupid tablet in my hands, hearing Lauren walking across the bedroom upstairs. Another text came through. "Greg, you're probably already spending time with him alone. Not gonna lie, That thought really bothers me. That was the first time I realized my life was not what I thought it was. I wish I could tell you I stormed upstairs right then and there, righteous fury unlocked, but I didn't. I went full possum, heart racing, hands shaking, but completely frozen. I opened the thread. I read everything. 2 months worth of messages between my wife and my boss. Too much of it I can't unsee. I won't get graphic here, but it was very clear this wasn't just some flirty joke gone too far. They were talking about my schedule, about their secret meetings, about how they couldn't hide their behavior after our last team dinner. There were pictures, not explicit, but clearly inappropriate. Her in the bathroom of my office, a photo taken in the mirror, her appearance altered in a way that clearly crossed professional boundaries, something no boss should ever see in a professioning of his employee's spouse. A pic of him sitting much too close to her in what I recognized as his office chair, because Eve sat in that chair, across from him, getting my quarterly reviews. They joked about me. A lot. He has no idea. He's too busy trying to impress me at work. It's unfortunate. I almost laughed when he said he wants you to meet my wife again. He has no idea Eve already met his. That one made me feel physically sick. At some point, I realized I was crying. Just silent, ugly crying onto the iPad screen. That was the first wave. Shock. The second wave was rage. I started screenshooting everything, emailing it to myself, to a new address I created on the spot, backing it up to a thumb drive. I looked like a crazy person in gym shorts, hunched over an iPad at 1 a.m., making a personal evidence packet. Then I did something kind of stupid, but also ended up changing everything. I scrolled way back. Turned out, this didn't start 2 months ago. The earliest messages were from last November. It started, innocently enough, logistics about the company Christmas party. Then a compliment on her dress. Then a thank you again for the chat. You really helped me see things clearly about your husband's career trajectory. For the record, we never had that chat. Then, Greg, you deserve someone who really sees you. Not just someone who loves the idea of you at home every night. And off they went. Hey, Race, the fun kicker. The first time they met up alone was the same night she told me she was helping Stacy with wedding planning. I remember that night. I ordered pizza, watched the game, texted her a picture of the dog wearing her hoodie. Shed replied, "You two are the cutest. They'll be home late, don't wait up." She was with my boss, at a place they used for secret meetings near my office. The receipt was in the messages. Apparently, at some point, Stacy became their cover story. There were whole fake conversations they'd send each other, just in case I ever looked at her phone, like rehearsal dialogue. If he asks, say we were at Chili's. LOL, yeah? They'll say you left your card there, and we had to go back. It was like watching a movie where you're the dumb background character and everyone else is in on the plot. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay next to her, staring at the ceiling, her phone face down on the nightstand charging while I knew exactly what was in it. The next day, I went to work like a robot. I had a 1:1 with Greg on the calendar. My hands shook all morning just thinking about it. He walked into the conference room right on time, smiling, slapping my shoulder like always. Morning, rockstar. Numbers are looking good this quarter, proud of you. I don't even remember what I said. Something like, yeah, thanks. I know my voice sounded weird because he squinted at me. You alright, man? You look tired. You alright, man? Yeah, Greg. Just found your little inappropriate message exchange with my wife. That's all. I didn't confront him. Not then. I needed a plan. I needed time. I needed proof that would hold up when they inevitably tried to spin this like I was crazy or overly strict. That plan came from the most unexpected place, HR. Well, indirectly HR. One of the HR ladies, Amy, is married to my buddy from college. We grill together, go to football games, that kind of thing. I wasn't going to drag her into this, but fate did it for me. We're in the break room that afternoon, and she casually mentions they're updating security cameras on our floor. New wider coverage, better resolution, audio in some rooms now. I felt my stomach drop. Even more Big Brother, I joked. She laughed. Yeah, well, you wouldn't believe what people get up to after hours. We had a whole training about supervisor-subordinate relationships last week. Apparently, it's becoming a pattern of concern. I went back to my desk and just knew. If Lauren and Greg had been using his office or the conference rooms, there was a chance some of it was on camera. At the very least, there would be clear timestamps of them being alone together for long stretches after hours. So that night, when Lauren said she needed to swing by your office to drop off those cookies for your team and asked if I minded staying home with the dog, the last piece clicked into place. They had no idea I already knew. I didn't stop her. I kissed her goodbye, told her not to be too long, watched her drive off. Then I grabbed my keys. I parked a block away from the office, heartbeat pounding in my ears. Security badge got me in, like always. The floor was mostly dark. It was just after 8 p.m. Greg's office light was on. The blinds were half closed, not enough to fully hide the fact that there were two silhouettes inside, close together. It's funny what your brain does under stress. Part of me was like, you could walk away right now, pretend you never saw this. Go back to the version of your life where you're not the guy whose wife is cheating with his boss in a glass office. The rest of me was already moving. I walked down the hall. Every step sounded 10 times louder than it should have. I didn't barge in. I didn't kick the door off the hinges. I just knocked. 3 calm little taps. Silence. Then I heard her voice, strained, way too bright. Just a sec. The door opened a crack. Lauren stood there. She looked clearly flustered and unprepared and nothing like she should at work. Behind her, Greg was straightening his tie. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. "Hey," she said, like she'd just run into me at Target. "What are you doing here?" I just looked at her, then over her shoulder at Greg. He had the nerve to smile. "Everything okay?" he asked, like I was interrupting their book club. "Move," I said to Lauren. She hesitated. "Babe, you're scaring me. You're acting very strange." Move. She stepped aside. I walked in, closed the door behind me, and for the first time, said the thing out loud. "So," I said, "how long have you been cheating on me with my boss?" You could have heard a pin drop. Lauren started crying immediately. No pause, no processing, just instant tears like she'd been rehearsing. "Okay, wow. I didn't expect you to come in like this," she said, voice shaking. "You're jumping to conclusions. It's not what it looks like." Greg cleared his throat. "Yeah, man, we were just talking." I pulled out my phone and opened the email with their messages. Scrolled. Held it up. "How about you don't finish that sentence?" I said. "Because unless this is some incredibly detailed work-based role play I don't know about, it's exactly what it looks like." Lauren's face went white. "Where did you get that?" She whispered. "Your iPad," I said. "You know, the one you left logged in on the coffee table while you were upstairs texting him about how much you like the way he behaves with you?" She gasped like ID slapped her. "You went through my messages? That's a huge violation of privacy." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. The audacity. Greg tried to go lawyer mode. "We should probably sit down and talk about this like adults. Emotions are high, and there are workplace implications here." "Yeah," I said, turning to him. "Let's talk about those. You're my direct superior. You've been in a hidden relationship with my wife. You used work events to set up your little dates. You've been giving me feedback on my professionalism while you're getting involved with my spouse in your office. That about cover it." He went pale. "Nothing happened in this office," he said too quickly. I raised an eyebrow. "You sure you want to commit to that?" His eyes flicked, just once, toward the ceiling corner where I now knew the new cameras were installed. "Gotcha." Lauren shifted from tears to anger like someone flipped a switch. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you anything," she snapped. "You always go straight to worst-case scenario. You're overthinking. You work all the time, you never listen, and the second I find someone who actually talks to me." "Oh, so you admit it," I cut in. She froze. "I didn't say that. You just did." More tears. "It's not as complicated, okay? It wasn't like I set out to hurt you. Greg and I just connected. You've been so distant and judgmental lately, and he actually sees me. For a long time it was just communication, and then we crossed a line." Greg rubbed his temples. "Lauren, stop talking." I turned to him. "Yeah, listen to your lawyer. He's the only one in this room with enough sense to see where this is going." He opened his mouth, probably to threaten me with HR or some policy violation. I beat him to it. "Eve already backed up your messages," I said. "Screenshots, timestamps, attachments. Eve also got camera footage available if HR wants it. You can try to spin this like I'm a jealous husband making things up, but we both know the power dynamic here is a nightmare for the company." The look on his face in that moment is one I will treasure for the rest of my life. Lauren realized the tide had turned and switched tactics again. "Okay," she said, fresh tears. "Okay. Yes, we messed up. But it was mostly emotional, all right? It's not like we've been acting irresponsibly. We just shared a few moments that were already inappropriate, and possibly more. But it's not serious. It was just a stupid mistake. I scrolled on my phone and read out loud. You haven't left my thoughts. I stopped before it got explicit. Is that what not serious looks like to you? I asked. She flushed. We were just talking. People say stuff. It doesn't mean anything. Cool, I said. Then you won't mind explaining it to HR. And your parents. And mine. That's when she really lost it. You're going to tell people? She yelled. You're going to damage my reputation because you can't handle a mistake? You're such a child. You always have to be the victim. I just stared at her. This woman I'd loved since I was 25. This woman who knew my worst insecurities, my childhood stories, my dumb high school haircut, who had sat next to me in hospital waiting rooms and cried at our wedding vows. I didn't recognize her at all. Pack a bag when you get home, I said quietly. You're going to your sister's tonight. She scoffed. You don't get to kick me out of my house. It's my name on the mortgage, I said. But you're right. We'll let the lawyers figure that out. Greg tried one last time. Let's not make any rash decisions, he said. We can handle this discreetly. No need to involve HR or families. We're all adults here. That's the second time you've said we're all adults, I said. Funny, because the only adult thing I'm seeing you do is worry about consequences after you got caught. I walked out. Lauren followed me into the hallway, still crying, alternating between begging and blaming. We can fix this. You're overreacting. If you just listened to me when I said I was unhappy, I only did this because I love you and didn't know how to get your attention. I didn't say another word. I just pushed the elevator button and watched the doors close on her face. The next few weeks were weird. That's the only word I have for it. I emailed everything to HR that night. Not because I wanted revenge, okay, maybe like 5% revenge, but because the power imbalance was too big to ignore. If this had been Greg and some junior rep, it would have been a clear-cut serious workplace issue. I basically wrote, hey, my boss is in a hidden relationship with my wife. Hey, erase the evidence. This violates multiple sections of the employee conduct policy. Do with this what you will. HR exploded. Meetings. Statements. We take these matters very seriously. All the corporate bingo phrases. They put Greg on administrative leave while they investigated, which meant he disappeared from Slack and everyone started whispering, but nobody knew why. Lauren moved in with her sister temporarily. She left with 2 duffel bags and a box of random stuff from the bathroom. Standing in our driveway watching her go was surreal. You think it's going to feel like the movies. Dramatic music, shouting, tears in the rain. It was just empty. Quiet. The dog whined at the window. My phone blew up, obviously. Her sister. Her mom. Mutual friends. She had gotten ahead of the story with most of them, of course. According to her, we were taking a break, working on communication issues. He's really struggling at work and taking it out on me. So I sent them the screenshots. Not all of it. I'm not a monster. Just enough to make it very, very clear who blew up what. Her mom called me sobbing. First to apologize. Then, later, to ask if I would consider forgiving her if she went to counseling. Her dad texted me once. Proud of how you're handling this, son. We've always been close. That one hurt in a different way. My parents were my parents. My mom tried to get on a plane immediately. My dad wanted to go have a talk with Greg, which, coming from a retired construction worker built like a fridge, would have ended in either an assault charge or a GoFundMe for Greg's medical bills. I told them no. I needed to do this myself. Emotionally, it was like being on 5 roller coasters at once. Some mornings I'd wake up and forget, just for a second. I'd roll over to say good morning and hit cold empty sheets. That drop in my stomach hit me anew every time. Sometimes I was furious. I'd replay the office scene, think of snappier lines I could have said, imagine torching both of their reputations in the most public way possible. Not just HR, LinkedIn posts, anonymous tips, the whole scorched earth fantasy. Other times I just felt sad. Bone deep sad. I'd walk past our wedding photo and feel like I was looking at a picture of 2 strangers. I couldn't reconcile that version of her with the one in those messages. The one who called me pathetic for trusting her. Then there was the humiliation. Going back to work while everyone knew something was happening, but not what? Brutal. A few people knew the whole story, my closest friends at the office, but most just knew Greg's on leave and ops been meeting with HR a lot. There were rumors, of course. Someone thought had embezzled money. Someone else thought I'd blown the whistle on some illegal client deal. Meanwhile, I was sitting in my cube trying to remember how to care about Q2 pipeline numbers when my marriage had just imploded in the most kitsch way possible. Unexpected plot twist. Greg's wife reached out to me. I hadn't even thought about her beyond a vague, poor woman sense. Then one night, I get a message on Facebook from a name I vaguely recognize from his holiday party. "Hi, I think we need to talk." She'd found their messages too. Except in her case, had gotten cocky and backed them up on a hidden email folder. Same conversations, same jokes, same location receipts. Except with multiple other women from his team. Lauren was not his first. Not even close. We ended up on the phone for 2 hours. It was bizarre, bonding with this woman over how our spouses had betrayed us, swapping timelines, filling in gaps. She cried. I tried not to. We both apologized to each other way too many times, even though we'd both been blindsided. HR, for the record, did exactly what you'd expect. Put him on investigative leave, then quietly offered him the chance to resign for personal reasons so they wouldn't have to list became involved with an employee's spouse in a termination letter. He took it. Last I heard, he's taking some time with family and exploring new opportunities. Translation: he'll pop up at some other company across town in 6 months with a slightly edited LinkedIn bio. Lauren, meanwhile, went through cycles. Week 1. Anger. You had no right to go through my iPad. You've always been overly strict. This just proves it. If you'd listened when I said I was unhappy, this wouldn't have happened. Week 2. Minimizing. It was just a stupid short relationship. We crossed boundaries a few times. Why are you acting like I killed someone? You're really going to throw away 10 years over a mistake? Week 3. Love bombing. I miss you so much. I can't sleep without you. We're soulmates. We can get through this. They'll quit my job. They'll block him. They'll do therapy. They'll do anything. Week 4. Desperation. This is where the fear of a possible pregnancy came in. She texted, "We need to talk. It's important." We met at a coffee shop. She looked wrecked. No makeup, dark circles, hair in a messy bun. Something might be wrong, she blurted out. My stomach clenched. Late. She nodded meaningfully. We sat there in this weird bubble of silence while the barista called out drink orders. In my head, a full war started. On one side, if there's really a child involved, I might be responsible. Are you really going to leave your kid because their mom is awful? On the other, she might be lying. She might be trying to tether you to this disaster forever. I asked, "Have you taken a test?" She looked down. Not yet. I was scared. Okay, I said. Then take one. She wanted me to be there with her. I told her to send me a picture of the result. I drove home, sat on the couch, stared at the wall for an hour that felt like a lifetime. Then my phone buzzed. Picture of a negative test. Immediately followed by, "I guess it was just stress. But see, you were willing to stay if there was a baby. So you do still love me." I just stared at that message. Whatever tiny shred of sympathy I still had for her evaporated. I wrote back, "No, I was willing to be a father if there was a child. That's different." That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Legally, everything ended way more quietly than it began. I hired a lawyer. Best call I made in the whole mess. Our state is no fault, so the hidden relationship didn't turn the divorce into some courtroom drama, but all the screenshots, timelines, and HR emails gave my side a backbone when we sat down to split things. Lauren came in hot at first. She wanted half of everything. House, savings, retirement, the dog like shared custody. All of it. My lawyer laid it all out very calmly. Sure, half of everything also means half the debt, half the costs, half the attorney fees, and, if needed, a very detailed public record of why this marriage was ending. Funny how fast her tone shifted to "let's be reasonable." We sold the house. Neither of us really fought to keep it. There was too much history in those walls, and not the good kind. She walked away with a bigger chunk of the equity and most of the furniture. I took a smaller cut of the cash, my truck, my clothes, and the dog. I fought hard for the dog, and I'd do it again. She moved to a trendy apartment complex near her job. Lots of glass, gym in the lobby, the kind of place you post on Instagram from. I moved into an older building on the other side of town. My place has creaky floors, thin walls, and weird neighbors, but the rent's paid. The dog has a patch of grass to sniff, and there's nobody lying to me in it. 3 months after D-Day, The divorce papers were final. No big scene. No judge giving a speech. I signed my name at a FedEx counter on my lunch break, while some guy behind me cursed at a packing slip. 7 years of marriage reduced to a couple of signatures and a stamped envelope. Emotionally, there was no magical switch. I started therapy every Tuesday at 6. At first I thought it'd be like changing a tire. Go in broken, come out fixed. Talk about the cheating, get some coping strategies, boom, done. Instead we went deep. We talked about how I grew up trying not to rock the boat. How keeping the peace became my job in every room. How that turned into me convincing myself everything was fine even when my stomach was tying itself in knots. We walked through the timeline, not to obsess over her, but to understand me. Why I ignored my gut. Why I turned every red flag into nah, you're just insecure. It hurt, but it helped. I quit using a couple beers every night as a mute button for my feelings. I didn't go stone sober, I just stopped hiding behind him, just unwinding, when really I was trying not to think. I reached out to friends I'd drifted from. Sent the awkward texts. Hey man, been a while. Want to catch up sometime? Turns out, most people don't need a perfect excuse to grab coffee or watch a game. Slowly, my weekend stopped being just me and the dog staring at a TV. My couch was full again. Friends, snacks, trash talk, life. I picked up my guitar again. Started running. Joined a terrible rec basketball league where nobody plays defense and everybody pretends they're fine the next morning even though we're all limping. The humiliation took the longest to shake. For a while, every time I walked into work, I was sure people could see it on me. Guy whose wife became involved with his boss. In reality, only a few people knew, but shame isn't logical. It just shouts. Then one day in therapy, I said, I still feel so embarrassed this happened to me, and my therapist asked, what exactly did you do wrong? Trusted my wife, I said. And what did she do? She cheated. So whose behavior should carry the shame? It sounds obvious written out, but something shifted. I'd been walking around like I was the one who got caught. The truth was, I just believed someone I loved. That's not a crime. Meanwhile, Lauren's life didn't go so smoothly. I didn't stalk her socials or anything, but things trickled back to me. Greg's personal reasons exit didn't stay mysterious for long. People talk, especially when HR rolls out new training modules right after a manager vanishes. In our city, the corporate and nonprofit scenes overlap a lot. Enough dots were close together that people started connecting them. Greg's wife divorced him. She went in hard. From what I heard, she wasn't interested in quietly protecting his reputation the way the company had been. As for Lauren, her perfect image got cracked. Some mutual friends pulled back when they realized how much lying and manipulation it had taken to keep the hidden relationship going that long. Her parents struggled too, her dad especially. Had always treated me like another son. Now he had to face the fact that his actual daughter had blown up her marriage and helped wreck someone else's. At work, she stayed on, but things were strained. Rumors, sideways looks, jobs she applied to that seemed promising until references got checked and suddenly went in another direction. She wasn't exactly canceled, but she was definitely living in the shadow of her own choices. Less respect, less trust. A life that looked decent on paper, but, from everything Eve heard, felt pretty hollow. I don't celebrate that, but I don't feel guilty about it either. She built that. And me? I kept going. Work actually got better. With Greg gone, we got a new manager, dull in the best way. No weird energy, no inappropriate comments, no power games. Just a guy who cares about metrics, not messing up people's lives. Because of how I handled everything, HR, documentation, not blowing up in the middle of the office, I started getting a reputation as steady under pressure. About a year after the divorce, I got offered a promotion. Slight pay bump, more say in how things run, and absolutely zero need to impress a man I secretly wanted to punch. My therapist eventually said, you know, you can keep coming if you want, but you're not in crisis anymore. Now it's about building, not surviving. And somewhere in there, I met someone new. It wasn't fireworks and violins. It was my nephew's birthday party. She was a friend of my sister-in-law, helping wrangle a bunch of sugar-drunk kids. We ended up side by side near the grill, joking about how children apparently lose all sanity in the presence of balloons. We talked easily. Music, stupid TV shows, work, nothing heavy at first. I didn't unload my whole history on her right away. I told her the short version when it felt right. She didn't flinch, didn't turn me into a project, didn't say, "Well, I'd never do that." She just said, "I'm really sorry you went through that," and then asked what I was into outside of work, like my story wasn't just the guy who got cheated on. We took it slow, slower than I probably would have before all this. She respected that. No guilt trips, no pushing, just steady, honest presence. The dog adored her instantly, which I took as a sign from the universe. Now, sometime later, we live together in a small place that feels warm in a way my old house never quite did. We argue sometimes about dishes, about how many pillows a bed actually needs, but we don't keep score, and nobody storms out to go think at a hotel across from someone's office. She knows the whole story. She doesn't punish me for my triggers. I don't punish her for my past. It's not a perfect life, but it's a good one. A real one. So hey, race your clear ending. I coped by breaking the disaster into pieces. I went to therapy every week and told the truth, even when it made me feel weak. I leaned on friends instead of pretending I was fine. I showed up to work. I walked my dog. I let time pass. I made 1,000 tiny boring choices that, together, pulled me out of the hole. Lauren ended up in the life her choices created. Shaky reputation, strained relationships, career on thin ice, and a long list of bridges shed burned. I didn't have to ruin her. She did that on her own. Me? I started over. I built something new, slowly and on purpose. Eve got a job I don't hate, a home that's mine, friends I trust, a dog who still thinks I hang the moon, and a woman who shows up for me the way I used to dream my wife would. I'm not just the guy whose wife cheated with his boss anymore. I'm a guy who got knocked flat and then got back up, met someone better, and started a new, actually happy life.